I told my stepdaughter the truth about her mom. Now everything's exploding. On Thanksgiving morning, my 12-year-old stepdaughter said, "Mom told me you're only nice to me because you want to win." Her face was tight, like she regretted saying it the second it left her mouth. I didn't shout. I didn't say a bad word about her mom. I didn't even ask. Why would she say that? I made one small change. I opened a note on my phone, titled it Just Facts, and typed the sentence exactly as she said it. Because in that moment, I realized something scary. A kid doesn't invent that kind of sentence. They repeat it. And if a 12-year-old is repeating it, somebody practiced it with her. I'm Maya, I'm 34, and I live with my husband Ben in a sun-bleached Phoenix suburb where the sidewalks shimmer half the year and everyone has a water bottle like it's an organ. Ben is 37. We've been married 3 years. His daughter Lily is the sweetest kind of cautious, the kind of kid who watches a room before she steps into it. And her mom, Tessa, is 35, extremely put together, and the kind of person who can smile while she's moving chess pieces. Here's what I should have noticed earlier. When a co-parenting situation is high conflict for years, sudden peace isn't always healing. Sometimes it's strategy. For most of our marriage, Ben and Tessa communicated like two customer service agents who hated their jobs. Short, dry, tense. They used a co-parenting app not because they loved structure, but because their lawyers loved evidence. Then, one Monday in September, I got a text from a number I didn't have saved. Text, 8:12 a.m. "Hey Maya, it's Tessa. Just wanted to say Lily looked so happy this morning. Thanks for always being kind to her." I stared at my phone like it had grown legs. Ben was at the sink rinsing a travel mug and I said, "Is your ex complimenting me?" He took my phone, read it, and his eyebrows did this little jump. "That's new," he said, like he was describing weather. I laughed. He didn't. And that was the first tiny red flag. Because when Ben didn't laugh, it meant his instincts were awake. Over the next 2 weeks, the messages kept coming. Text 6:47 p.m. "You're really good at the mom stuff, I appreciate you." Text 9:03 p.m. "If you ever want to grab coffee, I'm open. For Lily's sake." For Lily's sake. That phrase is like a get-out-of-jail-free card in blended families. You can ask for anything and wrap it in that ribbon. And I won't lie, a part of me wanted it to be real. I wanted to believe we were aging out of conflict. I wanted to believe the hard years were behind us. But I also knew Tessa's pattern. She didn't do anything without a reason. A few days later, Lily came home with a little gift bag. Inside was a water bottle with Lily's name on it and a sticky note in perfect handwriting. Note, "For school days at Dad's, love, Mom." Ben looked at it for a long time, then set it down carefully like it might explode. He said, "She's never sent anything to our house." I said, "Maybe she's trying." Ben didn't answer. He just opened the co-parenting app and scrolled back like he was checking the weather radar. Then Lily, innocent as anything, said, "Mom asked if you guys have a guest room." Ben paused. I paused. Lily added, "She said she might need to stay here sometime if things get complicated." That sentence didn't make sense yet, not fully, but it landed. And my Just Facts note got a new line. Because why would Tessa need to stay at our house? Unless she was planning something that might not go her way. That same week, I got an email from Lily's school. Email subject, "Emergency contact update confirmation." It listed me as an approved pickup person. Now, I'd been picking Lily up sometimes for years, but it was always through Ben. Suddenly, it was official. It felt flattering. Like trust. It also felt like paperwork. And paperwork is never just feelings. The next sign came on a Friday. Ben had a late meeting. I picked Lily up from volleyball. We stopped at a drive-thru for fries, then went home. Normal life. At 9:41 p.m., my phone buzzed. Text, 9:41 p.m. "Hey, quick question. Did Ben work late again? Just keeping track of Lily's routine." Keeping track. I showed Ben. He read it twice. Then he said something that made the hair on my arms lift. "She's building a story." I said, "What story?" Ben opened a kitchen drawer and pulled out a folder. Inside were old court papers, like a museum exhibit of stress. He tapped one page. "Last year she tried to adjust parenting time, said my schedule was unstable." I swallowed, "And now she's tracking your schedule through me." He nodded once. "If you were me, what would you do right there?" Because I'll tell you what I did. I tried to be polite. I texted back something soft. Text, 9:52 p.m. "Yep, just a late meeting. Lily's all good. Have a good night." And the next morning, Tessa sent a heart. A heart. That was when I understood we weren't in the mature co-parenting era. We were in the soft gloves era. A few days later, Ben's phone lit up at dinner. He put it on speaker because Lily was upstairs and we keep things transparent in our house. Voicemail summary, Tessa. "Hey, just calling to see if we can talk like adults, no lawyers, no apps. I feel like Maya and I could communicate so much better directly." Ben stared at the phone like it was insulting him personally. "No apps," he repeated, "no record." I felt my stomach drop because I knew what she was doing. But I still didn't know how far she'd go until I heard her say my name out loud in public. It happened at a coffee shop off a busy road, the kind with loud blenders and quiet laptops. I went in for an iced coffee after dropping Lily at school. I was standing near the pickup counter when I heard a voice behind me. Tessa's voice. Bright. Familiar. She was with another woman, maybe mid-40s, dressed sharp, hair smooth, like a professional. Tessa said, "I'm telling you, Maya's great. She's basically Lily's primary caretaker over there." My heart slammed. The other woman said, "That helps. Judges like stability." Tessa laughed, like they were discussing vacation plans. And I stood there, holding my drink ticket, realizing I wasn't being complimented. I was being filed. I didn't turn around in the coffee shop. I didn't confront her. I didn't even breathe right for a second. I just stepped to the side like I was checking my phone, and I listened. Because when someone thinks you're not part of the scene, they tell the truth faster. The woman with her asked, "So Ben's schedule is still all over the place?" Tessa said, "He tries, but you know how it is. Lily's with Maya a lot." Which is fine, I'm just saying, I'm the actual parent. I remember thinking, that sentence is the whole case. The fine part was bait. The actual parent part was the knife. I walked out, got in my car, and my hands shook so hard I had to sit there for a minute with the AC blasting like it could cool down my thoughts. Then I did the second small change. I stopped being helpful in ways that created a story for her. That day I told Ben, "No more direct texts. If she contacts me, I don't respond, you do, and everything goes in the app." Ben didn't argue. He looked relieved, like I'd finally said the thing he'd been trying not to say out loud. But Tessa didn't like losing access. So she pivoted. The next week, she showed up to Lily's volleyball practice. Not unusual. What was unusual was that she walked straight toward me, smiling, holding 2 iced teas like we were friends in a commercial. "Hey, Maya," she said, loud enough for other parents to hear. "I got you one. I remembered you like it sweet." I froze with my keys in my hand. I could feel other moms watching, curious, like they could smell storyline. I said, "Oh, that's nice, thanks, because I'm not a confrontational person by nature." Tessa leaned in and lowered her voice. "So, I'm thinking we should all do Lily's parent-teacher conference together, like united." United. Another ribbon phrase. I said, "Ben should be there. You should schedule with him." She smiled wider. "Oh, he's so busy, you're the organized one." And there it was again. The story. If Ben doesn't show up, and Maya shows up, who looks like the stable parent, 2 days later, I got a calendar invite. Calendar invite, parent-teacher conference, Lily R. Organizer. Tessa. Guests, Maya, Lily's teacher. Ben wasn't included. Not forgotten. Excluded. I forwarded it to Ben and wrote one line. Email. "She's making me the co-parent on paper." Ben called his attorney. And then, because life has timing like a villain, Lily came home from school quiet. She didn't grab a snack. She didn't turn on a show. She sat at the kitchen island and traced the edge of a placemat with one finger. I said, "Hey kiddo, you okay?" She shrugged. Then she said, "Mom said you and Dad are trying to take me away from her." My throat went tight. I sat down across from her and kept my voice calm, the way you do when you're holding something fragile. "No one is taking you away from anyone," I said. "You're loved on both sides." Lily's eyes didn't lift. She said, "You're pretending to be her friend so you can, get me more." There it was again, but this time it had moved into Lily's mouth. And I felt something in me snap, not anger, more like panic. Because it's one thing to be a character in an adult narrative. It's another thing to watch a kid become the narrator. I should have stopped. I should have said, "That's adult stuff. Let's talk about homework." But I didn't. I looked at Lily and I said, softly, "Sometimes grown-ups act extra nice because they want something. And I think your mom is being nice to me right now because she wants to change custody." The second the words were out, I wanted to catch them. Lily blinked like I'd splashed water on her. "She's being nice to trick you." I tried to back up. "Not trick exactly," I said. "More like persuade. But honey, you don't have to worry about that. It's not your job." Lily stared at me, and I could see it. Door opening. Not understanding, not relief. Loyalty pain. She stood up so fast her chair scraped. "I don't want to talk about this," she said, and she walked to her room and shut the door. Not slammed, just shut. Which was somehow worse. That night, Ben got home late, and I told him what happened. He didn't yell. He just sat down, rubbed his forehead, and said, "Maya, we can't put that on her." "I know," I whispered. "I know." I said it before I could stop it. Ben stared at the floor for a long time. Then his phone buzzed. Co-parenting app notification. Message from Tessa, 10:18 p.m. "Lily says Maya told her I'm manipulating custody. That's inappropriate. I'm documenting this." My stomach went cold. Because I finally understood what the niceness was buying her. Access. And now she had the one thing she wanted. A sentence from me, filtered through a child, that she could hold up like proof. And the next morning, the proof showed up in a way I couldn't ignore. The next morning, Ben's attorney emailed him a PDF. Email subject, Notice of Intent to File Temporary Orders Request. Temporary orders. Even if you've never been in family court, those words feel like someone just pushed your life off a table. Ben read it standing in our hallway, still in socks, like he couldn't move until he finished. I stood behind him, and I could feel my own guilt pulsing, loud and stupid. Because yes, Tessa had been building something for weeks, but I had handed her the cleanest brick. The document claimed in polite legal language that Lily was being exposed to disparaging statements and that it was creating emotional pressure. No insults, no dramatics, just professional concern. That's what makes it effective. Ben's attorney called at lunch. She sounded calm in that way lawyers do when they've seen worse, but don't want you to spiral. She said, Maya, I'm going to say this gently. You cannot discuss motives or custody strategy with the child, even if you're right. I know, I said, throat tight. She said, we're going to focus on patterns, documentation, and boundaries, not feelings. Not feelings. That was hard for me, because feelings were basically my full-time job in this house. That afternoon, Lily got home and didn't come to the kitchen. She went straight to her room. I knocked lightly and said, hey, can I talk for 1 minute? Silence. I tried again. Just 1 minute and you can tell me no. The door opened a crack. Lily's face looked older than yesterday, like she'd been holding someone else's emotions all day. I said, I'm sorry I said that. I shouldn't have. That's adult stuff and I put it on you. You don't have to pick sides. You don't have to carry messages. You get to be a kid. Lily swallowed. Mom cried. Of course she did. I kept my voice steady. I'm sorry, she cried. And I'm sorry you had to see that. Lily looked down. Is she lying? I took a breath and chose the safest truth. I think your mom is stressed. I think she loves you. And I think grown-ups sometimes handle stress in messy ways. Lily nodded once, not fully convinced, but not fully shut down either. Then she said, Mom said you're not my real mom. I didn't flinch. I know, I said. I'm not. I'm Maya. And I care about you a lot. That's all. That night, Ben and I sat at the kitchen table with my yellow notebook, the one I usually use for grocery lists. Ben's attorney had told us, start a clean timeline. Dates, facts, screenshots, no commentary. So we did. We wrote, September 11, first friendly text. September 18, emergency contact update. September 25, tracking Ben's schedule via Maya. October 2, coffee shop overheard. Primary caretaker. October 9, calendar invite excluding Ben. And then we hit the ugly line. October 12, Maya's statement to Lily about custody manipulation. October 12, Tessa documents accusation. Writing it down made it real. And the most painful part was seeing how tidy it looked. Because family court loves tidy. The next week, Tessa kept acting nice, but now it had an edge. At Lily's next practice, she waved at me like nothing happened. Then she said, loud enough for 2 parents nearby, Maya, I'm glad you're finally learning boundaries. I felt heat rush to my face. Humiliation is a weird emotion, because it's not just embarrassment. It's feeling like your character is being assigned in public. I smiled thinly and said, we're focused on Lily. Tessa smiled back, sharp. Of course, she said, for Lily's sake. That phrase again. A ribbon over a blade. 2 days later, Ben got another app message. Message from Tessa, 7:06 p.m. I'd like to move Lily to a school closer to me. It's a better environment. Maya can't be making parenting decisions. There it was. School change. If she changed the school, she could change pickup routines, friendships, and primary address arguments. Ben replied in the app, polite and firm. Ben, any school changes need joint agreement. Please send details. Tessa responded almost immediately. Tessa, I'll be discussing this with my attorney. Also, I'll need Maya to stop contacting Lily's teachers. I blinked at that. I had never contacted Lily's teacher. But remember that calendar invite? If I had shown up, she would have had a clean screenshot. Maya at the conference. Ben absent. Tessa concerned. It was like watching a trap you almost stepped in. Ben's attorney scheduled mediation. Mediation date, October 28. And I'll never forget the week leading up to it, because Tessa's niceness got brighter and her pressure got heavier. She sent Lily home with cookies for Maya. She offered to swap weekends to help Ben. She even messaged me directly again, even though I hadn't responded in weeks. Text 10:22 p.m. Maya, I'm not your enemy. I just need stability for Lily. Let's talk woman to woman. Woman to woman. No app, no record. I didn't respond. Instead, I took a screenshot and added it to the folder. And then the school called us. Not the teacher. Not the counselor. The front office. They said, hi, we're confirming a change of emergency contacts and pickup permissions requested by Tessa. Ben and I looked at each other. Because someone was trying to rewrite Lily's world on paper. Right before mediation. And we were about to walk into a room where paper matters more than intentions. We went to the school the next morning. Phoenix mornings in October are supposed to be nice. but I remember feeling like the air was too sharp. Ben and I sat in tiny plastic chairs across from the office manager. She pulled up Lily's file and said, "We received a request to remove Maya as approved pickup and to update the emergency contact list." Ben kept his voice calm. "Was there a reason listed?" The office manager hesitated. Then she read it like she didn't want to. Reason: step-parent is creating conflict, child is under emotional pressure. My throat tightened. It's one thing for Tessa to talk about me. It's another thing for her to lodge it into systems that touch Lily's day. Ben said, "We don't agree with this change. We have shared legal decision-making. We need both signatures." The office manager nodded, relieved. "Okay," she said, "we'll keep the current list until we have confirmation from both parents." As we walked out, Ben's phone buzzed. App message from Tessa, 9:17 a.m. "I see you went to the school. Please stop interfering." I stared at the screen. Because she knew. Which meant she was watching the portal, or watching the staff, or watching us. And that's when I realized the niceness was never softness. It was proximity. Mediation day came fast. Ben wore a navy button-down. I wore a plain sweater like clothing could make me look less like a target. In the lobby, Tessa walked in smiling, like she was arriving at brunch. She hugged Lily's backpack to her chest, then handed it to Ben, sweetly. "Here," she said. I packed her extra snacks. "I know you guys forget sometimes." Ben's jaw tightened. I wanted to say, "We don't forget." But I stayed quiet. Because in court-adjacent spaces, silence is sometimes the most powerful sentence. The mediator split us into separate rooms. That's how these things usually go, adults moving like chess pieces so the feelings don't ignite too fast. Our attorney opened her laptop and said, "We'll be calm, we'll be factual, and we'll let the documentation speak." I slid my yellow notebook toward her. "Just facts." She nodded like she approved of the simplicity. In our room, Ben explained the schedule, stable, consistent. He explained Lily's school success. He explained that we supported her relationship with her mom. Then Tessa's attorney came in with a printed packet. A packet. They handed it across like it was a menu. And on top was a screenshot of a text from Lily to Tessa. Lily's text, 7:32 p.m. "Maya says you're only being nice to her so you can change custody." My stomach dropped again even though I'd known it was coming. Tessa's attorney said, "We're concerned Lily is being coached against her mother." Coached. The word landed like a slap. Ben's attorney leaned forward. "May I respond?" she said, voice calm. The mediator nodded. Ben's attorney said, "We agree it's inappropriate for any adult to speak custody motives to a child. Maya has apologized to Lily and we've implemented boundaries. But we also have documentation showing a pattern of Tessa attempting to communicate off-record and positioning the step-parent as the primary caretaker." Tessa's attorney smiled like he'd been waiting for that. "Positioning?" he repeated. "Or is she simply acknowledging reality?" And then our attorney did the moment I will remember for the rest of my life. She turned her laptop around and said, "Let's look at the timeline." She displayed a clean document, dates, screenshots, no commentary. Text, 8:12 a.m. "Thanks for always being kind to her." Text, 9:41 p.m. "Did Ben work late again? Just keeping track." Calendar invite excluding Ben. Voicemail summary asking for no apps. Then, the coffee shop line, which I'd written down immediately in just facts. October 2 overheard, "Maya's basically the primary caretaker. Judges like stability." The mediator's eyebrows lifted. That wasn't proof like video, it was still hearsay. But in a room full of adults who do this for a living, it carried a smell. A pattern smell. Tessa's attorney tried to shrug it off. Then our attorney added one more item. Email subject, emergency contact update confirmation. Followed by, days before mediation, the attempt to remove me. She said, "If Maya is such a harmful influence, why add her formally? And then remove her right before mediation?" The room got quiet. Even Tessa's attorney paused. And for the first time, Tessa's smile didn't reach her eyes. She looked at me directly and said softly, "I was trying to be nice. You took it the wrong way." I felt anger flare, but I didn't let it speak. Ben spoke instead, voice low. "You were trying to be strategic," he said, "and you used Lily to do it." Tessa snapped, just slightly. "I did not use her," she said. "Maya did. Maya told her I was manipulating custody." And then, the mediator raised a hand. He said, "We're not going to make Lily the battlefield." I almost cried at that, because it was the first adult sentence in weeks that felt sane. The mediator left to speak to the other room. Ben's attorney looked at me and said, quietly, "No matter what happens, you cannot take that back, but you can show what you did next." What I did next? That was the line. Because the judge wouldn't be deciding whether I was perfect. They'd be deciding whether our home was stable. And the final decision wasn't going to come from my feelings. It was going to come from whether the niceness had fingerprints. 2 weeks later, we had our hearing. Not the dramatic kind you see on TV. A plain room, a judge who looked tired in the way of someone who has watched adults repeat the same mistakes for decades. Ben and Tessa both testified briefly. I didn't testify. Our attorney didn't want me center stage, and honestly, I didn't want to be. Because even if you're right, it's not a good feeling to be a step-parent in a custody conversation. You're necessary in the child's life, but optional in the paperwork. The judge asked about school, stability, communication. Then she asked the question that told me she'd noticed the pattern. She said, "Miss Tessa, why did you request changes to emergency contacts immediately before mediation?" Tessa's answer was smooth. "I was concerned," she said. "My daughter was coming home upset. I didn't want conflict." The judge nodded slowly. Then she looked at Ben. "Mr. Ben, what steps have you taken to reduce conflict?" Ben answered, clear and simple. "All communication stays in the co-parenting app. We do not ask Lily about her mother. We do not speak about legal matters to her. Maya apologized and we've set boundaries." Then our attorney submitted the receipts again, clean, organized. Texts, calendar invite, voicemail summary, portal change attempt. Not to attack Tessa, to show pattern and timing. The judge leaned back, glanced at the papers, and said something that felt like oxygen. She said, "The child will not be placed in the middle. Both households must protect her from adult motives." She ordered continued shared custody as is. She denied Tessa's attempt to change school unilaterally. She ordered that all communication remain in the app. She also suggested a parenting coordinator for a short period, which, honestly, I welcomed. Because even a neutral adult saying stop can feel like relief. Legal win doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like your shoulders finally drop. It feels like you can breathe without listening for the next email subject line. That night, Lily came out of her room holding her pillow like a shield. She stood in the hallway and said, "Are you mad at Mom?" I sat on the floor so I was eye level. "No," I said. "I'm mad that grown-ups forget you're a kid sometimes, including me." Lily's eyes got shiny. I said, "You don't have to protect anyone. Not me, not Dad, not Mom. You just have to be Lily." She nodded, then sat down next to me, close enough that our shoulders touched. That tiny contact felt like forgiveness. Here's what I should have noticed earlier. Kids don't need the truth in adult words. They need safety in adult behavior. Weeks passed. Tessa kept up the polite tone in the app, but the off-record friendliness disappeared. No hearts. No late-night woman-to-woman messages. Just logistics. And that's the thing. When someone's kindness is a tool, boundaries make the tool useless. Then came the last moment, the one that made the whole story feel like it had a bow on it. It was a Saturday afternoon, Lily was at a friend's house, and Ben and I were folding laundry. Our community has a gate with an intercom. It buzzed. Ben hit the button. A voice came through, slightly distorted. Ben, she said, breathy. "It's me. Can you just talk to me? I don't want the app. I hate the app." Ben looked at me. I didn't say anything. He pressed the button again. "Tessa," he said calmly, "use the app." There was a pause. Then her voice changed, sharper, more desperate. "Tell Maya to stop," she said. "She's the one making this hard." And Ben did the most satisfying, boring thing on earth. He said, "This is about Lily. Use the app." Then he let go of the button. No argument, no lecture, no victory speech. Just a boundary. The intercom buzzed again 2 minutes later, then stopped. Later that night, Ben and I updated the Just Facts note with one final line. December 3, Gate Intercom attempt to bypass communication boundary. Not because we were hunting for a fight. Because we were done being surprised. Final update, because I know people always wonder, did Lily recover? Yes. Not overnight. Not like a movie. But slowly, with consistency. We got her into a few sessions with a counselor, framed as someone to talk to, not because something's wrong with you. We kept our house calm. And I kept myself in the adult lane, even when I was tempted to explain. Especially when I was tempted to explain. If you're listening and you're in a blended family, here's the lesson I earned the hard way. Don't compete for the kid's loyalty. Compete for the kid's peace. And if someone's being nice in a way that feels scheduled, believe your gut, document facts, set boundaries, and let grown-ups fight grown-up battles. If you've ever been in a blended family where peace suddenly showed up out of nowhere, I hope this story helps you hear the quiet alarms earlier than I did. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're how you keep kids from becoming evidence. And if you're the step-parent trying to do everything right, please hear me on this. You don't have to earn your place by being endlessly available. You earn it by being steady and by staying in the adult lane.